Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. Glad to meet you all on the episode 3 of Road to Building a World Champion from TGIS. So today we have got Samir Geepee. Thank you, Samir Geepee, for first of all agreeing on a very last minute request. I think we just got this yesterday, discussed and finalized. That was awesome. So today we'll be focusing on evaluation of our preparation for the evaluation speech contest. I think personally, this is one of my weakest muscle in the area of speech. I think when first I was doing, I was like so scared of the time, rushed and did everything in 1 minute. So I'm sure that's a lot more to learn, like the rest of us. So people, just for some information. So if let's say you are in a not in so conducive environment to turn on your camera or to unmute your audio, you're most welcome to send your questions in the chat. Yeah, anytime you just send the question in the chat. When the questions are coming, I can gather and ask on behalf. So feel free for that. And also we will have an exclusive Q&A session at the end that you can interact and ask Samir Geepee as well. The virtual stage is yours, Samir Geepee.
Thank you very much, Vijay, and thank you to the president of the club, the showman, Abdullah, Radhika. Thank you so much for this initiative that you've taken up along with your XCOM. I have a mentor in this club who has been quite instrumental in my journey, who is Toastmaster Jensen, as you know, and he was the one who did the previous education session on this. And he inspired me last week when he did this by not bringing any presentation. So I don't have a presentation. I don't have anything prepared. I'm going to make this casual. I'm going to make this something where we can learn from each other. We can actually have a conversation. I love conversations. So in conversations, I believe there is a lot of learning that goes on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, I just was looking at YouTube and seeing if there was any champion evaluation that was there online. And I think I'll play one because it takes us 3 minutes, right? So we'll just play one video of one evaluation and we'll just observe what is happening over there. And then we'll start trying to unpack. And then we will have question answers, we'll have discussions, I'll share things, and then we will hopefully get some nuggets that will help us in our journey. All right. So once again, welcome to all of you over here. A disclaimer, I have never won an evaluation contest at the district level or at the division level. I have won at the division level and gone to the semifinals for international, but it's not been for evaluation. But I have constantly been evaluated for my speech. I have also evaluated, and therefore there are a few things that I've learned along the way, which is what I'm going to be sharing over here. So I take this with a pinch of salt. Don't think that who is he to speak or whatever. It's a learning process that we're going through over here. Before we begin, any questions or anything that you want to put into context over here? Anyone? Share anything that you have or any concerns that you have. Or any objective that you want this session to fulfill for you. Yes, Tulika, go ahead. Unmute yourself and share.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is just related with the contest. So while we are doing the evaluation, I wanted to know that which evaluations are actually we are going to do. I mean, is that for the regular speeches or it's going to be for the table topic? Just wanted to have that
good question,
understanding.
and I will answer that question also while we are doing the session. Is there anything else apart from that?
I have two things that I always wonder. One, I think beyond the contest. One is, I think this is probably a mental game. So let's say when you suddenly get into someone who's like a very seasoned speaker, someone who's really so pro, and you get to like evaluate them. So we already take a step back. Oh, how am I going to evaluate that? So how do we handle that one? And then I think on the speech contest evaluation, I think what I wanted to learn something more, I don't know whether this could be even correct or not, if that's going to be any structure or in terms of how do I actually handle the 3 minutes? Because I think 3 minutes is very challenging. And also we have to deliver something impactful, crisp, and also within the context of winning. So how to handle the 3 minutes best? I think these two are my curious.
Great questions. I love these questions. And I will
I just want to know one more thing, sir. Like Shubhajit here. So
Yeah.
my question is, if in case of the contest, so what is your take on like which contest it required the less preparation in terms of the the humor speech or the table topics or this evolution, or in case of evolution, what are the preparation required to be an evaluator? Being a not non-native and not very good in grammar. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
it's a very valid question, and I will address that as well. Yes, Abdullah.
Thank you, sir.
My question is like while we are observing the speaker, so we are taking the notes. There are positivity and negative points. So how to take? Some people are saying mark a T types of in a paper. Then left side good, positive, and right side the negativity. So I'm just always confusing what are the good points we have to take. It is all the good points we need to take, only few, or if it is few, then what are the points significantly we have to take?
Okay. Yes, Radhika, you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I just have one question that I wanted to ask, which is that in terms of when you hear the speech and then when you have to go and evaluate, usually it's very difficult to evaluate without referring to notes. But I believe, and I've seen some really great, of course, there's Priyanka from our club, and sometimes without no notes at all. So how do you kind of, I know that of course it's not important, it's not like a criteria that you don't need to have notes, but is there a technique, anything that you could just help on with in terms of how to just remember or identify what those points are, or just how to do without notes per se?
Okay, great question again. I've taken down all the questions. So is there anything else? Yes, Pradeep.
So probably it will be far for me to do evaluation, but then the question comes to me. Sometime I was thinking in my last stint here that if somebody asked me that, can you do evaluation? I'm like, am I capable to do anybody's evaluation? When do I become capable to do somebody's evaluation? It is somebody who is very good should actually do it. So how to handle that?
Okay. Again, wonderful question. Anyone else? Anything else? Akib, do you have a question?
Most of the question have already been asked, so my question was somewhere around the same thing. So
Right.
I would
that's
be
fine.
looking forward to the answers.
Okay. So
Thanks.
So I'm going to share my version of it. If you agree with it, you can embrace them as your answers. If you do not agree with them, you do not have to, because these are all just perspectives that we will be sharing, right? So my way need not necessarily be the way that works for you. And I want to put this disclaimer right in the front so that when you listen to me and when you're unpacking everything, you realize that Toastmasters is a journey where we find our voice, we find our style, we find what works for us, each one of us. And this whole conversation is about seeing perspectives from different people. And right now you're seeing my perspective. And as you go along this journey, you will see other perspectives and you'll identify with which one works for you best. And I'm going to share which ones have worked for me best, and therefore how I approach evaluations and how I tackle almost everything that you have asked. I have faced these things directly by myself in different situations, circumstances over the years. So I'll give you my version. I've learned from the masters. I sit on the shoulders of giants, like they say, and therefore what I'm saying is not original. It's transferred through experience. All right. So that being said, I still would like to watch one video instead of going directly and jumping into this whole answering each question one by one. Let's take one example. Let's take one champion speech. Let's watch that. Is everyone okay with that? Yeah?
Yes, perfect.
All right. So I was looking, and you can all look up these, and she was a district she was a world champion of public speaking as well, Verity Prize. I have not listened to her. This is in 2015 where she became the evaluation champion, but she was also the world champion of public speaking, I think 1 or 2 years ago. So let's listen to hers.
Masters, Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and Keta, I loved your speech. Thank you for a vivid and relatable topic. I think all of us have had something to do with this crazy little thing called love. But there were things that really stood out for me, Keta, and the first was before you opened your mouth. You stood up here with poise and presence while a technical glitch went on around you. And I think you won the audience before you said a word. And then when you started speaking, I discovered that we had a word wizard in our midst. From rhyme, you had the imagination and exaggeration. You spoke about, let me explain, as we walk down memory lane.
I could hear only the voice.
You can only see the voice?
The video is just like stuck, yeah?
Okay, so let me play it again so that you
Is it
see.
only for me or?
It might be. When I put full screen, sometimes you're not able to see.
Masters and Keta,
No?
I
Okay.
loved your speech. Thank you for a vivid and relatable topic. I think all of us have had something to do with this crazy little thing called love. But there were things that really stood out for me, Keta, and the first was before you opened your mouth. You stood up here with poise and presence while a technical glitch went on around you. And I think you won the audience before you said a word. And then when you started speaking, I discovered that we had a word wizard in our midst. From rhyme, you had the imagination and exaggeration. You spoke about, let me explain, as we walk down memory lane. You used this beautiful speaker's triplet of seek it, nurture it, strike again. Beautiful language that painted pictures that we could all see and imagine. But what I loved was you didn't just paint pictures with your words, you painted pictures with your body. And you had that longing for love and the yearning. And then you used body language to add to your humor. And you had humor in bucket loads. And when you started having the conversation with your lady, that awkward conversation I think all men have gone through, you really painted that picture and then added to the humor with a phew. So that was fantastic. And I really want to commend you for that. The things that I think you could work on, there was 3 things, and they're not huge, Keta, but the one is you use these beautiful words and you had great vocal variety, but you have quite a gentle voice. And at times, I don't know if everyone could hear you. And so my suggestion is when you speak in a room like this, come and do quite a long mic practice and ask your mentor to stand at the back of the room and see how you're projecting and help them push that. Okay, so that's something I think you could work on. The other thing was I loved that you brought the song in. We all know the song, it was fantastic, but I felt like you suddenly lost a little bit of confidence. Like I'm standing up here and I'm singing, it's thing called love. Like I just want to get this bit over with my speech. There was a chance to own that because that really added to your speech. So you could have even interacted with us. This thing called love, you know, you really could have gone for it. So next time, go for it, own it, because you deserve to be on this stage. And that brings me to my last point and recommendation thing I think you could work on is your speech was relevant to us and you kept asking these great questions. Would you die for love? Would you lose everything for love? But you didn't give the audience a chance to respond. And you work us, that's your chance. Would you die for love? And if they don't say anything, you go, would you die for love? Would you? Okay, come on. I mean, then you really get them going. But those were opportunities I felt that you missed and you could work on. But in summation, just work the mic to understand and compensate for the gentleness of your voice so that you can add volume to it. Interact with your audience. Commit to the brave things like putting a song into your speech. Keep up your humor. Keep up your body language. Keep up your word wizardry. And when it comes to this crazy little thing called speech making, seek it, nurture it, and please strike again. Thank you.
All right, very quickly, I want you to share your observations. When you looked at that speech, what is the first thing that struck you? What did you observe?
She used don't.
Used don't.
No, she used notes.
She used notes. She was referring to them. She was not holding on to them. So
yeah.
But there was a, what else?
Humor for me.
Sorry,
Humor.
on every she was actually doing it and saying how to do. On every suggestion, she was actually performing it.
She was doing it and performing and showing how to do what she's saying she should do, right? So she's making a suggestion and she's demonstrating that suggestion.
Yeah.
What else? Is it something that you noticed and you thought, that's not right? Was there anything in that you saw? In her presentation style, in her content or delivery, did you notice anything and think, this is not correct? Anyone?
No. No.
No.
I don't know, maybe it was very casual. I don't know if it can be.
Okay. So there are two, like I told you earlier, these are opinions and you don't know how the judges will mark you and score you, and how each judging group is very different. So if you have this particular group and they judge you, and then you go to another club and you do the presentation, might be you'll have a completely different result, right? So there is a luck of the draw that you have as well. When I was listening to her, one thing that I observed, which I felt was not right, was it felt she was talking to the target speaker. All right. So this is to answer your question. In an evaluation contest, you asked this question, Tulika, what speech are we evaluating? So there is a target speaker. There is one speech that will be delivered before an evaluation happens. And all the evaluators will be evaluating that same speech. So it is not an international speech. It is not a humorous speech. It is not a table topics. It's a separate speech that is delivered only for the evaluation contest. And that person, nobody will know until the contest time who is the target speaker. It's called the target speaker. And that target speaker, once they deliver the speech, they will sit in the audience. All the evaluators will be taken out of the room. They will be given 10 minutes approximately to prepare their evaluations. The speaking order would have already been taken. And once that 10 minutes is over, where you can sit down, write notes, and prepare yourself, all the notepads will be taken back from everyone, even though you're outside. You will not have your notes with you after that. When you go to the stage, your notes will be handed back to you, and you can either use it or choose not to use it. All right. So what Verity was doing was she was looking at the speaker and she was speaking directly to the speaker, and it was like she was having a conversation with the speaker. Now, I'm of the opinion, and I've seen other speakers who, what they do is you realize that you're on stage, you're in front of an audience, you're not in front of just one person, and you're delivering for everyone. So the first thing that we must all remember, an evaluation contest is also a performance. It's a performance for the entire audience, not just for one person. And when we realize that this is a performance, this is an opportunity to add value to everyone, then we stand up and speak up in a way to add value to everyone. And that will come to your question. Pradeep, you asked about how do you evaluate someone who is much more senior than you, right? Now, this is what they call the imposter syndrome, right? They call the imposter syndrome, or they call it the feeling that we have inside us where we feel like we are not good enough, or somebody else is too good or too amazing that we cannot talk about them. When you stand up on stage to deliver an evaluation, what is your intent that you stand with? I'm asking. Tulika, when you stand in front of an audience and you are doing an evaluation, what is the intent with which you stand?
To evaluate the speech, to give the constructive feedbacks.
To give constructive feedback, all right?
Help the speaker.
To add value to the speaker.
To add value to the speaker.
Something they can take back. Value
Yes.
addition.
Anyone else? Radhika?
To highlight the, what basically I think for me, I try to say something which is a little different from what everybody would say, at least in a speech, in an evaluation contest. So I don't want to say what is ordinary or what is very apparent. So I want to try and point out something which he did differently, or something which maybe not a lot of people would think about. That's number one. And number two, I think for me, it's always a sandwich approach. So I'll always start with something very positive. You could have done this better, but to conclude, I also really liked XYZ. So it'll
All right.
always.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a question over here. Yeah, actually. So I always feel, because, and I also find like Vijay evaluation very tough, because I do feel that if I wanted to point out something very differently, isn't it from my point of view, or it's very subjective to myself? Isn't it something which I feel that what comes naturally to me, that what I like and what I feel that it's somewhere according to my capacity and my understanding? So that's what I also feel, that I have a difference of opinion, that am I supposed to do the evaluation as per what is being expected, or as per what I really feel about it and say about it? So that's where I also feel like it's quite I feel difficulties in doing the evaluation.
All right. So that will address what you're asking, what Pradeep asked earlier as well, where you have someone and you feel this sense of judgment inside you. You're already waking up the judging mindset inside you, where you are already saying, I should say this, should I say this, what will other people think, etc. So you're already having this blockade inside your own mind, where you're having a battle between what you should say and what you want to say.
Yeah. Should I say the natural thing which is coming to me, or should I say it what is being expected from me to have the positive and negatives? That's what I always feel. That's the battle I have in my mind.
Okay. So, like I said, it's brilliant when we find our own style. Nobody is setting any expectation on anyone, including me. I'm not setting any expectation on how you should or should not do evaluations. So it's about authenticity. And I think if our authenticity shines through, the message goes across. When I stand up on stage, my whole intent is this: am I adding value not just to the speaker, but to everyone in the audience? Am I looking at everyone and seeing if I can add value to each one of them? And how am I looking to add value? Is by sharing my point of view. And this is how I look at it. And this is my opinion. And this is how I feel about it. Because I cannot speak about somebody else's feelings. I cannot speak about somebody else's point of view. I cannot speak about how somebody else wants it to be. The only thing that I can speak is of what I feel, what I have seen, what I've observed, and what I have interpreted as a result of seeing this whole thing. So there are things that happen. There are things that happen, or there are things that are being said, and there is a meaning that we attach to what is being said. Right? What has happened, or what was said, or what was performed is something that everybody saw. Correct? Everybody saw that. Evaluation context is how you have given meaning to that. What meaning you have attached to what happened. And they want to see how you interpreted something that was performed. And it's not judgment, because you're not judging the person, you're sharing your observation. You're saying, this is how I see it. And this is what I'm learning from this. And this is what I'm taking away from this. And this message, what you shared, in my opinion, it could have been done like this, or it could have been performed like this for more effectiveness. So that if you are focused on this intent, then this message could have been delivered like this. Does it make sense? Does it make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Tulika, you're confused? Did I speak too much?
No, I'm not confused. It does make sense, but
It does make sense, but
Tulika, you're muted.
Yeah, it does make sense, but I feel it's quite a difficult task.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes.
So here is the thing. It's a muscle. You have to exercise it.
Mm.
Giving feedback is a muscle that gets stronger. When you keep delivering it, that it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. I always say this, confidence is not a place you start from, it's a place you arrive at. And how do you arrive at that? Is when you start getting more and more positive evidence. The more evidence you collect, the more confidence you have. So how do you get evidence? You can practice this muscle of giving feedback to different people. For example, you can watch a small scene and with your family, you can have a conversation. What did you think of it? What could have been done differently and better? And then you share your view. You ask them to share their view. You see how the interpretation was done. You can have a conversation at office and you can share about how somebody did something and what did you observe and what did you give the meaning to what you observed. Right? And then you are saying, now this message, this intent. So there are things that are not said or seen. If you can catch those, that is where the magic is. That's what Radhika was talking about. I try to look for things that are different, but what I'm perhaps thinking, what she really meant was, I'm looking for things that is not so obvious. That is reading between the lines, as they say it, right? You're reading between the lines and seeing what was missed, what could have been done different, what could have been done better. That takes practice, and that is a muscle that we can constantly exercise. And now another question was, what if you're evaluating somebody who is a champion? How do we do that? Practice. Look at the last 5-10 years champion. Look at all the speeches. Everything is on YouTube. And sit down and start evaluating. Right? Sit down to evaluate those speeches. Sit down as a group and we can evaluate those speeches. Now, how do we do the evaluation? Abdullah asked this question. And the question of, is there a system, is there a method to do it? Let me just share with you how I usually do it. And then you can see if it's something that works for you. So I found this to be quite an easy and effective way to do it, where what's going on, Vijay?
Category positive, negative. Okay, this is good.
So when you have something like this, and if you have prepared this and kept it in the beginning itself, you can have certain things that you can keep as. So there is a little bit of preparation that you can do even before the target speaker goes on stage and starts speaking. You can write things like opening.
I'm not able to see the screen. I don't know if it's just me.
Can everyone see? Can anyone see?
Yeah, I think if you place this a little down on the page, because it's too up, that's the reason even I'm unable to see it.
No, actually, with your fingers, you can drag it here and there. And
you're using the maybe that's
why.
Oh,
Perfect, yes.
The size need to be increased, Samir. The one writings around that plus, around that.
Okay. No, I'm in laptop.
Or you can use the zoom in, zoom out also. There's a zoom in, zoom out, right?
On the letters.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So can you all see?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you have a few of these things, highlights, where you want to use something that they use in their opening or closing. So you put a structure in place where your page is ready for a speaker's content that is going to happen. Now, ideally, what you want to do is you want at least 2 or 3 really high positives and 1 or 2 recommendations. You don't want to give too many recommendations in a speech for someone. So you have to pick the one that is really standing out in terms of your observation. Now, the purpose of putting this over here quickly is you can put some kind of short notes or something that actually helps you understand later on, once the speech is over, what are the things that you want to expand on. Now, one thing that I do when I listen to a speech, have you all seen all of this?
Yeah, I can see.
Can you all see now? Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So you have for content delivery, then you just put points over here, positive, negative. If you don't have a structure like this, what will happen is your writing will be all over the paper. And then you'll try to make sense of what did I write, what was there. And therefore it becomes challenging to make sense of your message or what was being said, because your head is swimming all over the place and you're trying to make sense after the contest is over. So I'm going to close this window. So have some kind of a framework like that, and you can choose your own framework. You don't have to use that particular framework. It's a suggestion. It's a model that works for me. You just go in and put points over there, whatever works inside that. So what I do, so Vijay, you all saw the evaluation the general evaluation that I did, first of all, last meeting. And I did not follow the template that usually you see in meetings where they start with the opening speaker, then they start seeing who is. There are so many people that I did not touch upon or I did not speak about, because the main objective is to evaluate the evaluators. Everything else is secondary after that. So if you have to spend all our time on the evaluators also, it's not wrong. So the whole crux of evaluation for a speech context, we have to understand what is the real objective. And the real objective that we have to fulfill is, let me take that 1 second. Our real objective on how we will be judged is based on this judging ballot. So how do we analyze? Analyze means it's clear and focused, right? How we are giving recommendations. You see it, the analytical quality.
So account means,
Pardon? What is it?
Okay, you go ahead, I think.
All right. So when you look at analytical quality, it has the highest points, 40 points. And there was a question that was asked, I think it was by Vijay, on how do we deliver and make it effective in 3 minutes. So the structure that I use and the whole idea that I approach is ask myself, how can I first make it memorable for me, not for the audience, for me, so that I have to deliver this without notes. So the whole idea is for me to simplify it in my own mind for me before I deliver it to an audience. And if I can simplify it for me without notes, then it automatically will become clear and focused. So for this, what I do is I try to pick any word from the audience, from the speaker's speech. It might be one short word or something that was catchy. It might be a 3-letter word, 4-letter word, or a 5-letter word I will use, and I will break that acronym into something. It might be their name. It might be something that they used in the speech. It might be one word from their speech title, or it might be something, if there is nothing, then I will cook up a word which is closely related to the speech and use that as an acronym, and then build on that to use it for what they did well and what are my recommendations. I would plug it into that acronym. So it becomes easy for me to remember. Does that make sense? Now this takes practice, and I understand this. And therefore, what you can do is you can start practicing on delivering this kind of speeches. If you look at champion speakers, they usually do this. If your thinking already is very clear in terms of how you share, how you interpret, how you say things to others, then it becomes easy for you. But if you don't have that practice and you want to start with the practice, have some kind of a flow in your head. So either it can be the flow of the speech or it can be the flow of how you want to take it from a sandwich approach, so that positive, negatives, and then put that structure into that acronym, or figure out. The first and foremost thing that I do for myself is make it clear, concise, memorable for me. Because if I can't remember it, they are not going to remember it. And if they are not remembering, then we are not winning it, and our message is not landing on them. Do you agree or disagree with this?
Great.
Right? So
Agreed.
that's number one. So it is make it simple for us. First thing. The second one is they're talking about recommendations. Recommendations focus on it being helpful and positive, not just for the target speaker. Present it in a way that it is useful for everybody. So how you present the recommendation. Like in our last meeting, I was sharing, when we stand on stage, if we realize this is a responsibility, this is an opportunity to be adding value to others. And then Pradeep's question was, am I capable of adding value to others? Well, if you are a father, a son, a colleague, an employee, you're already doing it. You're already doing it in some capacity already. It's just a matter of expanding on that. Correct?
Agreed.
So the opportunity is to fine-tune that skill of adding value to others. We are already doing it. We want to do it better. We want to do it more effective. And have you ever thought why a speech is usually 7 minutes and an evaluation is only 3 minutes?
Mm. Yeah, you're just adding to the speech. You are actually not giving the same speech in a better way. You're just adding what are your thoughts on that speech.
It's a deep message, actually, and I feel it is very strategically thought out. When we are giving feedback to others, don't make it too long. Make it short, make it crisp, make it memorable, make it in a manner that they are able to take action on what we are suggesting to them. If we give them too many things to change, nothing will change. If we give them 1 or 2 things to change, hopefully something will change. The idea is not to bombard them with so many things and then they go back and they're like, oh, so much, I'm not good enough, I'm not great, I can't do this. Whereas, and this, if we practice in our life as well, whether it is at work, whether it is in our personal relationships, when we are giving feedback to anyone, whether it is to our children, whether it is to anybody, keep it concise, keep it short, keep it memorable. And one more element that I would always suggest you to practice inputting in your evaluations or speeches is questions. Add at least 1 or 2 questions. It engages the audience. It brings them onto the page. It brings them into the conversation where they feel included. You can give them the space to answer it, or it can be a rhetorical question. But ask at least 1 or 2 questions that actually allows them to be brought in. So it can be an opening. In the opening, it can be a hook. In the middle, it can be, or in your closing, it can be, or you can use it in multiple places. Another question. Yes,
I'm
go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt. I have a question here, Toastmaster Samir. So, in a general, the challenge which I faced in my recent evaluation was, in a general setup, I have, let's say I'm speaking to someone, I have that calmness in my mind. Is because I'm just listening. I don't have an intent of evaluating, but afterwards I can evaluate. Okay, this is something good that I like. This is something not good that I dislike. But when the purpose is evaluating, for example, with Toastmasters, while evaluating the speech that I was, so the challenge I faced was I was having a difficulty in listening as well as my own mind, trying to evaluate things. So I was struggling with this thing because it's very important to listen and observe carefully in order to give a good evaluation, right? But since my own mind was also interrupting, that was a huge challenge that I was facing. So how do we overcome it? Obviously with practice and the this plus sign that you have said, it's also very helpful. So would you like to add something on top of it? I'm sure maybe you might have also faced this thing in your early days.
Do you work at an organization?
Yes.
Do you have colleagues who report to you?
Yes.
When you're speaking to them, if they interrupt you, what do you do?
I don't like it.
Yeah, but what do you do after that?
Afterwards, I will give them.
In that moment when they're interrupting you.
I'll not speak anything because that is not the best time to tell them. I'll just listen.
We will overshoot time. Are you all okay with that?
Yeah.
Are
I'm
you all
okay.
Are you all
I am
okay?
okay. I am okay. Yeah.
If somebody is
No.
not, then I will cut short it. But there is a song I want to play before we move on with this.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's
I
okay,
think-
yeah.
Yes.
And I want you to listen. Even if you don't listen to the whole song, I want us to at least listen to the opening of the song for some time. And then I would encourage you to listen to this later. And I think the answer to Akib's question lies in this song. And it's a song, I think, if we won't make it, we can make it an anthem at TGIS as well. We can probably create a video out of this with all our members if you want to. All right. I play this at every training that I deliver. I play this at every training that I deliver. It's usually the opening sequence that I play. In a 2-day training, this will be there in the beginning. And you'll see why. You would have heard this song, but listen to it through the context of Toastmasters and public speaking.
No sound.
No sound?
No.
Sorry,
So-
even I can't hear.
Yeah, for me as well.
So what should I do to get the sound?
Who is the technique?
Earlier, we heard the song for the other video.
Yeah.
Why don't you start singing then? Sorry. I came in late, so I don't have the right to ask you to sing, but still,
Uh,
if there
What
is
should
any
I-
technical glitch,
it's not a
anybody can solve it, it will be good.
Glitch, but
Otherwise,
there is a
Vijay.
Okay, I will
I
try
think
to.
you have to
Can I
press
play?
the play button if you can. Try it again.
Vijay, can you play it from your side?
Yeah, let me try.
You got the video?
Yes.
Usually when you're sharing, there's an option, right? Share with audio.
Yeah. I think, okay.
So,
Yeah, probably.
so
Samir,
maybe
when you-
stop sharing the screen and then start again and then share with audio. There's that option, Samir. Just check. I'm not sure if
Yes,
it'll work.
yes.
At the bottom, share sound. Yeah, I have to tick that.
Share
Wonderful.
sound.
Brilliant, Radhika.
It's not happening. Some glitches there.
Okay, let me try then.
Can you play it?
Yes.
I have my experience to speak about when it comes to evaluation. I don't know, it was since I've joined, it was the first, I think, when you were the TMOD for this crazy TMOD topic, where the first time I have seen that after every prepared speeches, we have taken some 30 seconds to give the feedback. I remember it, the first speech when I gave the feedback, I was not sure what to write and what not to write. And I think that's a great practice in generally, because I was not tapped in the mindset of actually evaluating. And since after that, I mean, the other speeches evaluation became better for me. So I think that's a great practice in terms of evaluation if you wanted to practice. And I don't know after that, are we practicing that or not? But that was the first time I saw it. So that was my observation. And I felt it that, yeah, it's a good practice in terms of to be present in the moment, at the same time to tap on the critical thinking part about it.
Thank you so much for reminding that, Tulika. And the fact, like I was saying earlier, is, and that is to answer Sujit's question. He was asking, what is the preparation time? How much time we should allocate for preparing for an evaluation contest compared to an international speech contest and a table topics contest? How much time do you allocate? It's a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more stronger it gets. So it depends each one, what is your journey? And I would say, don't focus on winning. Focus on becoming better. You know, the focus is to become better. And the whole option of this contest that it opens up is it challenges us to be better. When I was contesting in the international speech contest, I think the most beautiful part of that journey was the mentoring and the continuous fine-tuning and the improving that I went through internally as a result of working on the speech. So if we attach winning to everything, we will miss the real journey. And the real journey is our personal growth in that whole process. So preparation time is entirely up to each one of us, and we can sit down and evaluate, take all the speeches from the internet of Toastmasters speeches and start evaluating, take down a piece of paper and start evaluating those. That's exercise for our muscles, for our head, critical thinking, like you're saying, you know, reasoning and seeing, can I identify something that is not obvious? Can I give a recommendation to Dhananjaya Hetraji for his speech? I see something in him. Can I give a recommendation to Muhammad Kartani for his speech, The Power of Words? These are excellent speeches, and these speeches have gone through the rigor of fine-tuning and fine-tuning. Dhananjay himself has said, you will not recognize the first version and the last version that won the championship. They're completely different, that they have gone through so much of evolution over a period of time before it became that masterpiece. So if any one of us is writing something over here, remember, it can go through iterations and it can become better. And that the same goes for evaluation. And that is what you have to recognize when you're standing up over there as an evaluator. It's not a judgment of how good you are or how bad you are or how effective you are. It just focus on, I am adding value to somebody else's journey and life. And that is my whole intent. And with that, I take it as a responsibility to listen mindfully, to think critically, and to place that information in a manner that is concise, that is focused, and that is memorable to people after they leave. And if that is the intent, then what will happen? The message will get delivered in that fashion. Have I answered all your questions, or is there anything that has not been addressed so far? Is there anyone who feels I have asked a question, but it is not yet answered? At the beginning, we all asked questions. If your question was answered in this session, give a thumbs up.
My question is answered.
Yeah, I'm good.
But I have can I ask one question?
Yes.
The summation, there is a summation, analytics, recommendation, technique, and summation.
Yeah.
So for this summation, I think we will get maybe 30 seconds or below 30 seconds. How to do within this small time frame, the completed summation?
You can use all your 3 minutes also for summation. Nobody's telling you can use it only for 30 seconds. So it's a very good question, what you have raised over here. And we'll go back to the judging ballot. But there's something else that was stuck in my mind. Let me just open the...
Is that compulsorily required, that summation? Some people are saying that first part must be like the positive side, then the recommendation or improvement. Then we have to summarize the entire what we said in the plus and minus.
So here is the thing. When it comes to any speech, people will remember the last thing that you said. Right?
Yeah.
People will remember the last thing that you said. And you can think, if you want, you can split the speech perhaps into head, heart, head. Okay? Head, heart, head. Logic, emotion, logic. So logic is where you're talking about in the opening what has happened. You're talking about the introduction. You're talking about something. Emotion is you're bringing in the stories. You're bringing in examples from the speech. You're sharing everything that you felt. Tulika, you asked this question, should I speak about what I felt or what is expected out of me? So when you speak about feelings, you make an emotional connect. When you make an emotional connect, you move an audience, right? So there is an emotion that when you use expressions, voice modulation, show examples, all those things will shift the audience and they will be glued to your speech. The body is the chunk of your presentation. And you want to keep it really meaty. You want to give your examples. You want to share what you saw. You want to share what you did not see. You want to share what you want to see more. These three things, keep in mind. And then you want to conclude it in a logical manner that they have like a step-by-step process or what they can do with what you have shared all along. Because it's all over the place now. Now you have to bring everything together and put it into a nice place. So think of it like you're cooking a dish. You have taken the ingredients. You have put it into a dish, you have made everything, and then you want to do the plating, which is the final presentation for the audience. And if that does not happen effectively, it just feels like the dish is still in the serving pot and it is not yet plated and given to somebody. So summation is very key. And I remember the last evaluation, that the general evaluation, Vijay came up and he said, I've never seen someone who even, where there was one message from a general evaluation, right? And it was, what was the general evaluation last message? Do you remember, Vijay?
Use the stage responsibly.
Yeah, use the stage responsibly.
Simple message, but it sticks, right? So if you can deliver something like that and make it effective and make it memorable, it doesn't have to be complicated. If there is one thing that they can take away, you've done your job. Agreed?
Agree.
Samir, can I ask one thing?
Yes. And before you ask, I want to add, because I don't want to forget this. I've forgotten this a couple of times while the conversation was happening. So, go ahead, ask your question. I'll write it down. You go ahead.
No, I wanted you to talk something, add on that song you played, right? What is the essence that you wanted to say? I mean, I understood that the speak up kind of thing, but then probably you can add something what was in your mind.
Yeah. So why I find that song so powerful and why I find this, at least through my context, is I lived a life where I was not brave, where I was not speaking up. And that held me back in so many contexts in my life. I felt I was raised as a child where my father constantly told me what to do and did not allow me to voice and express myself. And that spilled over into my public speaking. It spilled over into my other areas of life. It spilled over so much so that I lost confidence in myself for a long period of time before I could claim it back. Platforms like Toastmasters, going up there, speaking up, showing up, has given me that confidence slowly by slowly, because every time I went up on stage, I was collecting positive evidence. And each one of those was adding up to the confidence that I was building. Today, if I'm able to speak in front of an audience without any preparation, without any notes, it's only because I have collected evidence over a period of time. that has validated for me that I'm doing something okay, that it's working. And if it's not working, I constantly, even today and yesterday, I was in Abu Dhabi and I was delivering a training. I know I'm amazing. All right. I know I'm great. But despite that, I know I can improve. I know there would be somebody who would say something which could be an area of improvement for me. So it could be because of a national sensitivity. For example, I'm training these days Emiratis. Now, they might give me a feedback that I did not completely think of at all. They might say something which is very different. Like, for example, today when we are doing the trainings, there's somebody who said, your training is engaging and there is a lot of activities and it is a lot of fun, but at the same time, the content is not enough. And suddenly what I realized, there are certain people who choose to be given what to think and they don't want to think for themselves. And that was a great feedback for me. I'm going to share another map for you, which when you look at it, you will understand quite a few things. But coming back to your question, why did I play that song and what does that song mean for me is being brave is about, you might have fears, and it's not about not having fears. It's not about eliminating fears. It's about doing things despite the fear. It's about doing things that is right. It's about doing things that makes your heart feel like, I did something good. I did something correct. I did something meaningful. I did something to add value to somebody else. And if that is the intent, why should we stop ourselves, right? So if we come from that pure place of adding value to somebody else in their journey, then I think that is motivation enough for us to, and that is what you will see on the judging ballot itself. They have put over there to be encouraging. And the whole idea is to be motivational, to be encouraging, to be sensitive, to be sympathetic. You see, a lot of emotions are there which are being expressed. And if you have these, and if you're thinking, I want to win a contest, all this will disappear. You will not be able to do all of these things effectively, maybe. Are you getting me? So your intent will drive your actions. I'm going to share something which could perhaps help you in your journeys as well. Look this up later, but have a look at it right now. This is what is called a choice map. Anything that happens in our life, there is something, at any moment, there are thoughts, there are feelings and circumstances that happen. And then you have two paths that you can take. One is the learner mindset, one is the judger mindset. And if you have the learner mindset, then what will happen is you'll ask, what happened? What do I want? What are the facts? What are the assumptions I'm making? What can I learn? You see, these questions are very different. From the questions you will have, why am I such a failure? Will I say something stupid? Will it be taken correctly? And you'll ask all these questions which are judging. And that, when we ask, we'll fall into a pit where it will be difficult to climb out of. So we can switch that. We can switch that and ask, if I have the learner mindset, what would I be thinking? And therefore, you would have thoughtful choices. You will be solution focused. You will come from a space of win-win situation. Explore this map later on. I don't want to go into so much detail over here. I think it's very self-explanatory. If you Google choice map, you will end up with this chart. But this map actually tells us, we can either, we become our own blockers. We stop things from happening for ourselves through the questions that is internally asked to us. There is a little voice in our head which is speaking and asking questions. Can I do this? Am I capable of this? Should I be doing this? When that happens, and if you recognize that voice in your head, you know what you should do? Say out loud the words, stop. It actually changes your physiology. You actually are bringing your awareness and you're controlling your mind. instead of being controlled by your mind. So suddenly what will happen is you're saying, stop. That's not working. That's not serving me. That's not helpful for me. Stop. And then you shift. Right? So in an evaluation contest, and I don't want to take any more time. I know this Abdullah is getting really like, when will I do my dance? No, if Samir keeps on speaking like this. So I hope you're all getting a lot of value out of this. There is one word that was used here, and I want to bring your attention to this, especially when you're doing an evaluation. When you say you did all of this, but, avoid but. Avoid using the word but when you're doing an evaluation. Because that but will negate everything that you said before the but. Instead, say yes and. So substitute the word but with and. Because in an evaluation, usually this is something that is observed. And this is a killer to anyone who's listening. And this is not just in evaluation speech contests. This is also in life. When you're giving feedback to any individual in life, avoid using yes but. Use yes and. It's accommodating. It's inclusive. It's saying, I hear you, and now hear me. This is yours. I agree with it, and that's fine. Now, this is my point of view. And then you can decide which one you want to take. So, present both. You did this, yes, and you could do this also. Instead of saying, you did this, but you should have done this. Right? So bring mindfulness to you, and that is what evaluation really is about. Being mindful about the words that we choose, whether we are speaking to somebody else or we are speaking to ourselves. Both making a huge play in evaluation contests. We are becoming effective as individuals as a result of doing good evaluation. So take this as an opportunity. Contest, I would say, exercise that muscle of looking at content and asking yourself, how can this help me become a better person? And if you think you're not confident, remember, the journey to confidence is somewhere that you will arrive at. It's not where you will start from. And you will arrive there only if you practice and if you put yourself out there and you create positive evidence. So focus on creating evidence, the confidence will come. With that, if there's no more questions, I would like to hand it back to Vijay and Abdullah and Radhika. If you have more questions and if you want to, I think we are having a session on Sunday. I don't know what is the format of that, what is the agenda, and what is going to be the flow of that event. But happily, if there's anyone who wants to reach out personally, feel free to get connected and then we can see. With that, may I sign off? I mean, may I hand over back to you?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Samir Geepee. Abdullah, Radhika, anything to say?
Yes, I'd just like to take over just because you said that you asked. First of all, thank you so much, Samir, for your time today and for such an insightful session. What I'd like to say is, in case anyone has any questions, we've obviously overshot time today, but we have not announced this formally in the TGIS group. The reason being that we were first waiting to coordinate with the mentors. It was important to get their time first before sending it on the group. But now that we have that, I'll actually shortly be sending on the group that we're going to have a in-person mentor-mentee workshop. We have over 45 plus members in TGIS, and we have about 7 or 8 mentors. A little over that. We're trying to get maximum mentors to participate in Sunday's in-person mentor-mentee workshop. Obviously, Samir Geepee is one of the main instrumental members who will be there. And so, I'm going to send this message on the group as well. Request all of you to please attend. And this could be questions to your own mentor. Take this as an opportunity to interact with your own mentor, which you may not ordinarily get. And of course, make use of all the other mentors there as well. Everyone has experience and expertise to share with all of us. So yeah, that's it from my side. I'll hand it over to Vijay. Thank you so much, Samir, once again. Yes, Pradeep, sorry.
Can
sorry,
we
is in physical, I mean face to face?
face to face?
Yeah, Vijay, you can stop recording.